into weird shit.
Not like weird sex stuff or Star Trek, but, you know, video games. That's the wrong one, fuck.
The PlayStation 1 is home to some of the most renowned classics of the video gaming world, as well as some of my favorites, like Suikoden 2, Metal Gear Solid, and the golden age of Final Fantasy. With a library of over 3,000 games, you could go through your entire lifetime playing each and every one of them. But don't do that. But I said weird games, so we're gonna dig deep into the PlayStation's bowels to find some good and bad shit. And we're gonna do our best to avoid platformers, because they were a dime a dozen in this day and age.
So let's go ahead and get started with Fix the Adventure, a 3D platformer. Shit, what's wrong with me?
Okay, just one platformer. Let's set the stage. It's 2003. Star Wars: The Knights of the Old Republic was about to be released, The Wind Waker showed us what aesthetic choice in games could do, and Metallica's magnum opus, Saint Anger, was finally released, changing the world forever. And, Age Tech needed a quick buck, so they were like, yo, are there any weird Japanese games left we can localize?
There's Phil no Daiboku.
Okay, go for it. I'd like to imagine that the people involved with everything graphics related here were actual Satanists who believed that this was what the world looked like. There's no other way to explain the nasty, ultra-saturated color scheme. And don't even get me started on Fix. He's fucking terrifying! What is it? A dog? An alien? A flower? Guys, I think you made the eyes just a little too big. This is a creature from my nightmares. His 3D model isn't any better. It's like a dumpy looking Bubsy, who's already a dumpy looking motherfucker. Now we all know that with the exception of like 5 games, all 3D platformers from this era are terrible. Fix is not an exception. So we start off with little Fix here sleeping as a fucking meteor comes down from the sky. The music is super dramatic and it looks like things are going to shit immediately, but just kidding, he eats it and then becomes magnetic. The cinematic ends with some horrifying green man offering to remove it, attempting to give advice before Fix just runs away, like he doesn't give a fuck and just teeters off. Then when you start the game, Jesus, what's wrong with the music? Everything sounds satanic. Maybe my Satanist joke wasn't that far off base. The gameplay consists of changing your magnetic polarity for combat and platforming, similar to Super Magnetic Neo. Except it's worse in every way and might actually be the hardest game ever created. It's so easy to fuck up. Look, Fix has got it all. The constant bottomless pits, the complete lack of checkpoints, random and irritating puzzles, grating sound effects, and momentum-based platforming that's hard to understand. Like, you can grab onto a ledge from an obscene distance, but it won't pull you back off of a ledge. Also, due to the isometric angle and uncontrollable camera, you'll be making a lot of jaunts and leaps of faith. I don't even really understand what's going on here. Like, I gathered from the opening cinematic that Fix is the thing, but then you embark on this journey and you're saving gods and shit. Massive squids and Medusa? I love that these battles don't even take advantage of the magnetic system. Like, they added that in after the fact. Also, when you beat Medusa, she's all like, sorry, normally I'm a cute and sweet girl. Is this supposed to turn me on? This game's weird as fuck. But sometimes you'll come across a game that appeals to the weirdest niche buried deep in your heart. A game so unique that you end up dragging it to all of your friends' houses, begging them to play it with you.
And that game is Power Shovel, man!
I'm serious. Power Shovel is one of the most ridiculous and enjoyable games I've played in a long time. 3 words: co-op meets construction, except 10 years before. And with minigames. The concept is simple. You are a crane. Do things. Be that move dirt, breaking down houses, scooping turtles out of a pool, or calculating the price of objects and determining a spending budget. It's simple. The D-pad controls one of the joints in your crane and the direction that you face. Triangle and X control the boom, and lastly, square and circle control your scoop bucket. It's gonna take you a while, but once it clicks, goddamn! It's incredible. So there's a few types of game modes here. First off, I suppose, is the realistic mode where you do mundane construction tasks. These increase in difficulty as you complete each level and will provide you with money that you can use to purchase stuff with. You also get to take a test to earn your licenses, which will provide you with the ability to use bigger and better cranes all the way up to the big bad PC-100. And if you're into it, there's a level editor with a password system. These typically act as obstacle courses rather than tasks. I wonder if there's like an active Power Shovel community. We should start one. And last, but absolutely not least, is the part-timer mode. Here's where things begin to get a little bonkers. You're a freelance shoveler, so you might have to pick up some odds and ends. Maybe you need to tear down a few old houses, or dig a big-ass hole, or maybe you need to be a curry chef on an assembly line. Yeah. In this mode, every job you take increases the difficulty of the next one, and it's fucking fun as hell. if you can't tell, I love this game. There are various multiplayer modes here, all of which I haven't been able to experience. I need some shovel buddies, but I'm yet to find anyone. The only thing missing here on my end is the Japanese exclusive controller made specifically for Power Shovel. I'll get one eventually, but you know, if you ask me, Power Shovel is fucking awesome. You should pick this one up and give it a shot, as it's pretty cheap and easy to find. Now we're gonna change gears, fuck you, to something a little different. Some of you might recognize a game by the name of Dragon Buster. However, it only reached the States in 1985 via arcade and as a minigame in Tales of the Abyss. It's a pretty neat little arcade game. Dragon Buster 2 never came.
14 years later, they busted out a third game called Dragon Valor, which, it didn't do too well.
Fuck yeah, look at the dragons, man! And the metal riffs! We're only a couple steps away from an Iron Maiden album cover.
And look at this little baby me, you know he loves it.
Dragon Valor is a side-scrolling fantasy beat-em-up with RPG elements that takes place over several generations. The choices you make in-game will determine who you play as in the next chapter, as well as completely alter the course of the game.
This sounds so badass.
Thankfully, the combat feels really good. There's a big arsenal of moves you can perform, from aerial attacks to backflip ninja kicks. You'll pick up upgrades and spells to expand your moveset, and feeling more powerful is always a good thing. Visually, Dragon Valor may not be the best thing ever, especially seeing what it was up against in 1999, but the style remains strong and it has a solid pumping soundtrack to keep things moving. But there's some problems here. And they're big problems. It all comes down to the aforementioned generational system. Dragon Valor isn't a long game. An average playthrough takes maybe 6 hours, and that's 5 chapters. I know this is a beat 'em up and stuff, but in a story-driven game, that's simply not enough time to feel a moving story or get attached to any of the characters who may have different things happen to them depending on your choices. For example, I played as Codell in the second chapter. He's a berserker who really doesn't give a fuck. After using the magic sword that everyone in the game uses for some reason to slay a mighty dragon, I adopted this kid Jerome to be my partner. Oh, also during the chapter switch he died. He gets one sentence in scrolling text. Yeah, the guy you just controlled for the last hour, he's dead! Oh, he'd still be alive in the other path, but whatever, fuck you. Also, the choices you make are usually accidental. Like, did you go in this door? Accidental. If you don't know in your first blind playthrough, you'll end up getting married to someone and never meeting some random girl on the other side of some random door. How many damsels in distress does one game need anyways? I've run into like 10! Each conflict ends so soon, and when you start up the next chapter as a new character, your stats all reset. Do you like all these attack and HP upgrades you found? Too bad, they're gone.
Yet somehow your entire inventory carries over.
Eventually, the beat 'em up part of the game feels tired as you're always losing your stat progression, and ultimately, all you need to do is spam the same combos. Seems like the developers got a little lazy too. Like, what kind of band of thieves employs giant praying mantises in their entourage? Why does Jerome's hair clip through his face constantly? Why am I saving in slot 11? Why are shops in the game completely pointless? I guess the OG Dragon Valor Clovis must have really strong genes if his grandson Philip is just a recolor.
Ultimately, I do think that Namco dropped the ball with Dragon Valor. I mean, it had like a really neat series of ideas, and it did lead to games like Odin Sphere, but it's not good. But to bring up the mood, we do have All-Star Slammin D-Ball.
And entering the fray for a second time is Age Tech with a good game, for fucking once. Jesus, Age Tech, get your shit together. All-Star Slammin D-Ball just so happened to be the surprise of the century.
I found this for $5.
So, D-Ball falls into a specific genre of video game I like to call, let's take a weird Japanese game and try to Amerify the cover up so no one knows it's a weird Japanese game. Flip that shit over, look closely, and anime. But hey, this was Age Tech and D3 Publisher, so you know to expect anything but normal here. I mean, look at the Japanese cover. If you've ever played Super Dodgeball, or any dodgeball game really, you know exactly what to expect. One of the cool things about All-Star though is the inclusion of metered specials and input-based combos. There's a bunch of teams to pick from, with my favorite being the Pranksters. D-Ball is one hell of a party game and will have you screaming with friends. And it certainly beats going outside and playing dodgeball for real. Oh! Fuck outside.
You guys want to see the coolest thing from Deep South? Japan probably, but the Deep South? Because it's Rising Zan Samurai Gunman. That's the best title. It's the best title. Go home, developers. You can't beat it.
Rising Zan, yeah, Johnny
Now this is what I'm talking about. You know exactly what you're getting into with Samurai Gunman. Vigilante justice. There's plenty of sillies and murders to be had in a game that seems to fit the same vibe as God Hand. Actually, Rising Zan is a bit of a weird one, as it initially released in 1998, years before the character action genre really took the stage with Devil May Cry. The weird part about this is that they don't even share similar developers. Despite being another age tech game, Samurai Gunman was developed by a group called UEP Systems Inc., who up until this point only made cool boarders games? How the fuck do you go from snowboarding games to this?
And by the way, my name isn't Johnny. It's the super ultra sexy hero, Zan.
Acid, probably, yeah. Listen, all you need to know going into this is that our main character, Johnny, was a cowboy who got his ass kicked by ninjas. What would you do in this scenario? If you answered disappearing for years on a quest to become a samurai cowboy and exact revenge, you'd be correct. Apparently, this also comes with superhuman strength, speed, and the ability to helicopter around with a sword. Normal things. With your newfound powers, it's off to save your hometown from the Japanese? It's hard to tell, but it certainly is fun to read the lore hidden away in the instruction booklet where it says that Master Suzuki was friends with Zan's father, Kevin. Fucking Kevin! Now it's a good thing that... it's a good thing that... Samurai Gunman is kind of super janky. Okay, it's really janky. Visually, it feels really sloppy, especially when heavy graphic hitters were already on the system. Hitboxes aren't very clear and the combo system is incredibly limiting. Like, okay, you got your sword and gun and a decent amount of mobility, but thanks to the slow nature of your attacks, you'll be locked into animations. There are Street Fighter-esque input attacks you can do, but they don't chain into anything else you do, so you're stuck doing one thing at a time. It's hardly what you'd call a complex system. And that means the boss fights are boring. Going through the game is pretty fun though, even if just to experience the sheer ridiculousness of it all. Each boss is, well, really fucking weird, and each stage has several gimmicks to them. Be it fighting your way through a train that's exploding, fighting another train on a minecart, or playing baseball with a cat statue. Excuse me? Where's the cowboy part again? What's a Japanese castle doing in the US? Remember this in US history? They decided to give each boss a strong personality that consists mostly of them speaking complete gibberish, maybe perhaps slightly racist things. Also, is that fucking Zelda? It's fine. Samurai Gunman has a lot of controller mashing events, all of which are extremely silly. I guess they're kinda like QTEs, but used for one-off gags. You'll also be mashing at the end of every level where you have to perform a brutal finisher on the boss. I don't know why, but I have the hardest time with this. There's several different executions ranging from groovy to bitchin', but I have a hard time getting past weak. You must have to own one of those Mario Party gloves in order to get a good score here, because I don't stand a chance. With each level giving the player a ton of weird variety to experience, Gunman never really feels like it's dredging on for too long. In fact, you'll be done in like less than 3 hours, provided you aren't complete garbage at video games. When you do this, you unlock Sapphire, Master Suzuki's daughter and ninja extraordinaire. That's what it says in the manual. She's pretty cool and has a different moveset, but it doesn't really change the game much at all with the exception of a few animations. She tends to land gracefully from falls, while Johnny Boy seems to fall on his face quite a bit. Slapstick. All in all, Rising Zan Samurai Gunman isn't a great game. I wouldn't even call it a good game. But it does in fact contain the words Samurai Gunman in its title, and therefore I love it. 10 out of 10, best game. Let's make a sequel. Platinum, maybe?
Now that all the dust has settled and the oddities cast into the wind like fireflies on a Mississippi night, our hero is to embark on yet another quest. Where it takes him, no one knows but Austin himself.
You can call me Boku.
Not today. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want your art featured here on the show, make sure to tweet at me at Austin Eruption, and I'll put it here on the show if I can. Make sure to also subscribe and like and comment, do all those things. And I played D-Ball with Emmy Knightley recently, and we were screaming the whole fucking time, so you should definitely check that video out. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye. Are you getting jealous? What do you want? Oh! 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 Now, I'm gonna take y'all to the South, the glorious Wild West. That's the worst accent I've ever done in my whole life. Now, I'm gonna bring you guys to the Deep South where I'm from, the glorious Wild West with